Hi, everybody. Ann Louise here for yet another episode of First Lady of Nutrition podcast, where we bring you all the latest, greatest game changers in the world of health and healing. If you haven't checked out my latest book, Radical Longevity, please do your brain a favor, because copper, the wrong kind of copper, can kill you. And my new book, Radical Longevity, explains the whys and wherefores of the copper dysregulation epidemic we are suffering from. Today, it is my great pleasure to introduce the legendary one and only Udo Erasmus, who's the pioneer of the health and wellness industry and is the father of the healthy oils fats movement. He's the king of essential oils, and I'm the queen. Udo Erasmus, welcome to the First Lady of Nutrition podcast. Udo, it's nice to be with you after all this time. How in health are you?
Oh, I'm awesome. I'm just getting started.
I love it. You've been out there as long as I have, many, many decades. My concern, my dear friend, is this. They're talking about coconut oil, MCT oil. They're talking about macadamia nut oil, olive oil. Nobody's talking about essential fatty acids. What's the deal?
Well, the deal is convenience. You know, it's if you have an oil that never spoils, then you can store it under your bed for 5 years and it won't spoil. But the good oils spoil. They're like perishable vegetables. They need to be protected. They need to be made with care. They need to be stored with care. They need to be used with care, because light, oxygen, and heat damages them. And they are actually the most sensitive of all of our essential nutrients that require the most care. But in practice, we give them the least care. We damage them, industry damages them while they're being made, and then we use them for frying. And when you throw oil in a frying pan and watch it turn into smoke, you know you've changed the chemistry, and you know that it's not the same as what you got in the seed or the nut or the bean that the oils came from. So more damage is done to health by damaged oils than any other part of nutrition.
Agreed.
And more health or more damage reversals come from giving your body the oil change that it needs from damaged oils to oils made with health in mind.
So you wrote a book. I remember the book, Fats That Heal, Fats That Harm.
Yeah.
And you were very clear that there were certain fats that heal. Those fats are coming under attack by many of our leading industry advocates these days. I mean, they've been on my podcast. Yeah. I've had to interrupt them. I've tried to be very respectful. They're really throwing the good omega-6s under the bus. They're attacking linoleic acid. I want you, my friend, to set that record straight.
Okay, very simple. You look at the entire world of fats and oils, there's only two things that are essential. And essential means you can't make it, you gotta have it, you gotta bring it in from outside. If you don't get enough, your health deteriorates, you get deficiency symptoms. They are degenerative in nature, they get worse with time, and if you don't get enough long enough, you die. But if you bring them back in adequate amounts while you're deteriorating, before you die, because by definition, death is not reversible.
So far.
Then when you bring them back in adequate amounts, all of the problems that come from not getting enough are reversed, because life knows exactly what to do with these essential building blocks for body construction and energy production, as long as you take responsibility at your mouth to make sure enough of them land in the body so life can use these building blocks to do its job. It knows the job, but it needs your help in making sure that you bring them in, because you can't make them inside your body from anything else. That's what essential means. And the two things that are essential by that definition, which was created by researchers on the basis of their research findings, omega-3 and omega-6. Alpha-linolenic acid and linoleic acid, the omega-3 and omega-6 essential fatty acids that come in oils. If you have a hard fat, it's going to be low in those two. And those two are both essential, equally essential. They need to be in the right ratio to each other, because if you get 20 times more of one than you get of the other, then that crowds the other one out because they use similar pathways in the body.
Yes.
And
The
if you get too much of the other, like flax oil used by itself, you can become omega-6 deficient, which happened to me.
Oh, yeah, omega-6 deficient. Now, nobody's talking about that, my good friend, my old friend, my legendary friend. Nobody's talking about omega-6 deficiency. They're just talking about how toxic it is. Could you just take a moment and clarify that?
The damage, there are a lot of people. I mean, that was actually my big thing when I was going through the research, because I had been poisoned by pesticides and I was trying to figure out how to help myself. I got into a thing where they said omega-6 is essential. And I just gave you the definition of that. You got to have it, can't make it.
Yes.
And this other research on the same omega-6 said it causes cancer and kills you. And I was like, what? How's that possible? Something that is essential for health gives you cancer and kills you. And it was that contradiction and trying to figure that out. It drove me nuts. It was trying to figure it out. And that got me to look at how oils are made. And what's blamed in omega-6 should be blamed on the damage done by processing, both by industry and by food preparation. So we damage those oil and then they damage us. I like to say the essential fatty acids are vindictive. They'll treat you like you treat them. You treat them with care, they'll take care of you. And you damage them, they'll damage you.
So how do you treat them with care? Then how do you treat them with care? And what are the essential omega-6s? Do we differentiate between linoleic acid and GLA? I'd love you to go down that rabbit hole.
Sure, I'll go down that road too. So how do you treat them with care? Well, they're damaged by light. That turns them into free radicals, and lots of chain reactions happen, and you change the molecules. By oxygen, that gets you rancidity, and by high temperature, that gets you twisted molecules. Those are called trans fatty acids. Those are the main three. So while the oil is being made, and this is really my so-called claim to fame, is I developed a method for making oils with health in mind by creating a very tight system in which the oil is not touched by light, by oxygen, and by high temperature. From the time it's in the seed, where it's well protected by nature's packaging, through the pressing, the filtering, the settling, the filling, till it's in a brown glass bottle, in a box, in the fridge, in the factory, or in the store, or in your home. And that oil is never used for frying. You can put it in hot soup after it comes off the heat. You do not put oil like the good oils in the frying pan. Frying is the dumbest thing that humans have ever invented to do to their food.
Exactly.
And when you fry oils, they fry your health. So that's what they need to be protected from. So how do you use them? Well, you put them in foods, hot, warm, or cold, after they come off the heat source. And you can put them in hot soup. I put them in miso soup, for instance, or I put them in steamed vegetables. Not a problem. But you do not use them for frying. Never, 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 ever. And I tell people, listen, you got a frying pan? Frying is the worst thing, the stupidest thing you do in your kitchen. Get the frying pan, turn it upside down, hit yourself on the head with it really hard so it's associated with pain, and then throw that stupid thing out. Because it will cause you lots of pain if you use it to fry
inappropriately. So the point that I also want you to reiterate and highlight and maximize to my listeners is that if you treat omega-3s the way they've treated the omega-6s, you'll just be as sick and inflamed. The point being is it's not the fault of the omega-6s, it's the processing and it's the refining that's really it.
Right, except omega-3s are 5 times more sensitive because they have more double bonds. So they're more sensitive. 5 times more sensitive than the omega-6s. So if you fry omega-3s, they will kill you 5 times faster. Don't fry them.
So what is your ideal ratio then, my friend?
Well, the ideal ratio, if you read the research, the researchers like omega-6s better because the industry that gives them their grants is a omega-6 industry. There are not a lot of
interesting observation.
Yeah, I'm just
telling it like it is.
Yeah, no, I'm just noticing, right? And so they say 4 times more omega-6 than omega-3 is the perfect ratio.
4 to 1.
Some researchers say 1 to 1 which is the ratio in the brain of omega-3s and 6s, is the historical ratio. That's not true because it depends on your food supply. If you're in the north, you get more omega-3s. If you're in the tropics, you get more saturated. And in between, going south from the North Pole, you get more omega-3s at the top, then you get more omega-6s, then you get more omega-9s, which are monounsaturated, and then you get more saturated. So the historical ratio will change with your food supply. What we've found out by practice, by actually working with people, is that if we had more omega-3 than omega-6, we got better results. And we use a ratio twice as rich in omega-3 as omega-6. And we also know that if you go 4 times richer in omega-3 than omega-6, which I did myself to find out about the ratio, that you will become omega-6 deficient. And flax oil can do that. That's why I don't work with flax oil anymore. It is a poorly balanced oil. And that's why I made the blend that I work with, so that we get the ratio right, because that's important.
The blend and flax seeds. So flax oil is very high in omega-3s.
Yes, it's about 4 times richer in omega-3 than omega-6.
What about flax seeds?
In the oil is also 4 times richer in omega-3 than omega-6.
So
flax seeds, yeah.
So you no longer
the difference
like
is you get more oil in the oil than you get in the seed.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you're going to get your oil from eating seeds, then I would say 2 tablespoons of flax to 1 to 2 tablespoons of sunflower seeds is a good way to get that ratio. Because you will, even if you just eat seeds, if you only eat sunflower seed, you will become omega-6 deficient because they have no omega-3s in them. But they have a lot of omega-6. So you got to mix and match to get the ratio right. And then going back to your question about coconut. A guy wrote a book on coconut. And in that book, he made every claim for coconut oil that can be legitimately made for omega-3s on the basis of existing research. He made all those claims without any research to found it. Because when I read the book, it was like, oh my God, he's saying everything I'm saying, and he's saying coconut does it. And then I went into Medline, into the research base, and looked it up. There was not a single documentation in the research for all the claims they made. And of course, now there's been more research done. Now they find out that coconut oil will increase LDL. But if you eat coconuts, it won't. And they think that it's the fiber in the coconut that protects you from the damage that the oil can do.
So you're no longer in favor of coconut oil?
Well, coconut in small amounts, but the issue is you got to make sure you optimize your omega-3 and omega-6 essential fatty acids, because those are the only things you need from fats.
Okay.
All the monounsaturates and all the saturates your body can make out of sugar and starch.
So you created an oil. Tell me about the oil and why it's so spectacular.
Okay, so talking about the blend, what we did, because I became omega-6 deficient by using flax oil as my only source of fat, and I got dry eyes, skipped heartbeats, arthritis-like pain in my finger joints, and thin, papery skin. And those are classic omega-6 deficiency symptoms. I fixed it by eating sunflower seeds to raise my omega-6 intake. And then I said, you know what? And people would say, is there one thing I can do that gets me everything good I need from the fats that heal, and nothing bad that I should avoid from the fats that kill? Is there one thing that gives me that? So those 2 reasons is the reason why we developed the blend. Blend is twice as rich in omega-3s, omega-6, and it comes from flaxseed oil for the omega-3s, sunflower sesame for omega-6, evening primrose oil, which has GLA in it, which is something the body makes out of omega-6s. But the reason we put it in is because it has very good polyphenol antioxidants.
Yes.
And then we have rice germ and oat germ oils. Those contain ferulic acid, which is energy enhancing.
And anti-aging.
And athletes like it for that reason. And then we put in a little bit of coconut oil, has very good antioxidants, has a nice flavor too. but not much essential fatty acids. And then we put in GMO-free soy lecithin that we have to bring in from Europe because you can't get it in North America.
Did this formula change over the years?
I think we began with some wheat germ oil, and we took it out because we could never get a really clean source of it. And we went from 3 organic ingredients when we began with the commitment to change to organic whenever it became available. So we went from 3 organic to now 8 organic. And we are in the process of making another formula that doesn't use soy lecithin and sesame oil because there's some concerns about those certainly in the marketplace. So we're making an allergy-free oil blend.
Where can people?
And we're just in the process of putting that together.
Where can people get the oil?
So, but it hasn't changed much over the years. And what we found out when we did studies with athletes, 2 to 1 was the ratio that got us the best results. Omega-3s are exceptionally good. We call it the God molecule.
I like that. So,
yeah, and because it's really, really high energy. And we did with athletes, when they took a tablespoon per 50 pounds of body weight per day
so that's
of the blend.
A tablespoon per 50 pounds of body weight. I wanted to find out how much we should be taking.
Yeah, that's about 25% of calories. And they mixed it in food, took it over the course of the day. Within 30 days, they had 40 to 60% increased stamina. And how we measured that was they did their sport to exhaustion. So they went up 40 to 60% in 30 days. And there is no training program that gets you those kind of gains. That was simply an oil change for the body to the best oils that have the highest energy. And they actually turn on fat burning. And we told marathoners to stop carb loading like they were doing when in the beginning. We told them they should carb deplete and run the race on fats instead of running the race on carbohydrates, because carbs only get you 20 miles and a marathon is 26. So they would hit the wall and then they would drag themselves the last 6 miles. And so we told them they were doing it wrong. Of course, everybody was telling us what we were saying was wrong, but we understood the biochemistry. And the people who took us up on it, they said, that was amazing, because when I finished my marathon, I felt I had enough energy to run another one. Of course, I didn't run another marathon. And when you do like especially stamina endurance sports, omega-3s and running them on and doing them on fats is exceptionally important. We had strength athletes and boxers and runners, cyclists, and they all got better results when they didn't just take any old oil or didn't pay attention to oils at all. And a lot of them in those days didn't. But when they started getting oils made with health in mind, rich in omega-3, properly balanced, in glass, because plastic leaches into oil and worse than into water. And you don't want plastic in your body. I think there's a lot of information now about plastics and microplastics. And so when you make that change, it's remarkable for the energy that you get.
So where do people get the oil? Give us the name of the oil. It's Udo's oil, as I recall.
Yeah, it's called Udo's Oil 369 blend. And you get it in health food stores. And
in the refrigerated section.
It's in it's in the brown glass bottle, in a box, in the fridge, in the supplement section, in the natural food stores. So some of the practitioners also sell it, and in Europe, it's in the chemists sell it. So there are a few other places that you get it. And coming up pretty soon, we're actually going to be selling it off our website. We're just putting that together. I'm a little slow. I'm 79, so I'm not.
God bless you.
I wasn't born with an iPhone in my hand.
No, or as another appendage. I get it. So there's a lot of misinformation right now about oils. Sunflower seed oil, is there an issue with rancidity? That's one of your key ingredients.
Is there an issue with sunflower seed oil? Not if it's made with health in mind. But most of the oils that line the the store shelves everywhere in plastic bottles have all except extra virgin olive oil have been treated with Drano, sodium hydroxide, very corrosive base, then with window washing acid, phosphoric acid, also very corrosive acid this time. Then they're bleached with bleaching clays that turns them rancid. Then they smell bad, and then they have to be heated to frying temperature to clean them up. That's happened to all of the oils that sit in the supermarkets and on the stores in plastic bottles, exposed to light. And so the oils that you get on the supermarket shelves and on shelves in stores generally, about 0.5 to 1% of the oil is damaged. And in a tablespoon of an oil that is 1% damaged by the processing, this is before you fry it, you will get 60 quintillion damaged molecules.
Ooh.
That's like more than 1 million damaged molecules for every one of your body's 60 trillion cells in just 1 tablespoon. And these are omega-6 oils. If they're omega-3 oils, that would be 5 times higher.
Times 5.
And that damage, we learned in genetics that, times 5. Yeah, we learned in genetics that you only need, like bacteria, only need 2 cells of something in their environment to turn on certain genes. Our cells are bigger, so it's maybe 100, maybe 1,000, and you're getting 1 million in every tablespoon for every cell. 1 million damaged molecules. And we don't eat 1 tablespoon a day, we eat 2 to 4. And we fry the oil, so we're doing extensively more damage than that 60 quintillion molecules, than that $1 million, than that 1 million damaged molecules for every cell. So that's why there are people who say you should never use any oils. But it's not the oil that's the problem, it's the processing damage that is the problem.
I agree.
Making oils with is the alternative that we came up with way back in 1981.
I know, I agree with you totally. It's a message that I've tried to get out there. And again, I've had guests on the podcast whom I've had to rudely interrupt because they have the whole omega-6 story wrong. Now, what about fish oil, my friend? Because every fish oil that I've tested is high in mercury, even if it says mercury-free.
Well, the problem with the fish oils is they are 25 times more sensitive to damage than the omega-6. So they're super, super, super sensitive. That's why if you get fish oil in a bottle, you open the bottle and keep it in your fridge, within a week, you can smell it because your fridge smells rancid. Because they're super sensitive and they don't take the care. They don't make them with health in mind. They clean up the mess, but they throw them in tanks and they use the rotten parts. And, it's like a chemical feast to get something more to sell out of a dead thing that should be buried. Right. And so it's very cheap raw material because it's the throwaways that they make the oil from. That's not true for everybody, but a lot of them make it out of the, because if you have no cost on the raw material, then everything is profit. And so, and then the studies that have been done on the body's ability to convert omega-3 alpha linolenic acid, which is the essential fatty acids, into EPA DHA, which are not essential fatty acids, they're essential fatty acid derivatives that the body can make itself if it has enough starting material of the plant omega-3 alpha linolenic acid. So they're not essential fatty acids, although the marketing always says they are. And the truth is that the studies were done wrong because women convert very well because they need to be able to keep one brain working and make a second one every time they're pregnant. Men don't have that problem, so we don't do as much conversion. It also means that women are smarter than men, and smart men. Thank
you, Udo.
And smart men know that, and really smart men acknowledge it.
Kind of you to
But
say.
but they also did the studies wrong in terms of conversion, and they figured that was only exposed in 2015. The body can convert. The body turns over only 2.4 to 3.8 milligrams of DHA per day. So if you had a gram of ALA, you would need a fraction of 1% conversion to get enough to do that. And then what they did is they made, I don't know if this is too technical, but what they made is they gave people shots of alpha-linolenic acid that was labeled with carbon-13, and then measured how much DHA came out of that. And they ignored the fact that people have 15 to 50 or to 60 grams of alpha-linolenic acid already in their body, ready for conversion. They just ignored that completely. So that means all of their measurements were 3 to 12 times too low or lower than they actually are. Plus, they didn't measure the other things that are made out of DHA and the retroconversion of DHA into EPA. And they just ignored all that. Because the goal of that study, I guarantee, I wasn't there, but I guarantee the goal of the study was to make fish oils look good and to make alpha-linolenic acid look
bad.
Yeah.
So do you like algae as a source of DHA?
Well, algae are, in most cases, the original source, but you can't just squeeze algae because they only got 4% fat in them. So what they did is they took the algae, they put them in tanks, they grow them on sugar because they turn sugar into DHA. Now imagine if you could do that, right? You could eat all the sugar we love, sweet, and
turn it into this wonderful,
and turn it into DHA that makes you like really brain smart,
yes,
vision smart, and sperm smart, right? That's so. So they and most of the fish actually get it through the food chain, made by algae at the bottom, and then they're eaten by krill. And then the krill is eaten by little fish, and the little fish get eaten by the big fish, and the big fish get eaten by the whales, seals, and walruses. And that's how EPA makes its way through the food chain. So this is actually EPA or DHA is actually a plant-based product in most cases. There are some plant-based fish, fish that eat plants, that actually also can convert ALA into EPA and DHA. But the main source, just like everything else, the main source of everything is plants in the ocean, but also on land.
Good point. So for the average human listening to this podcast, if you were to tell them what to eat on a daily basis when it comes to fats and oils, I know I've written about this for only 40 years, and you and I are on the same wavelength in most regards. Yeah.
So I remember you came out of the low-fat Pritikin story,
the low-fat Pritikin story, and became a nutritional heretic when I told them about essential fatty acids. But that's okay, because I still stand by my story.
I apologize for all the hard times you got.
Well, you got them. We both had targets on our back, but we can say, look. If hindsight were 2020, we could have said, "I told you so."
But we would never say that because we're not those kind of people.
Not those kind of people at all. But in any event, so for the average human being, so we'll get some Udo's oil. I love the concept of sunflower seed oil. You've got some evening primrose oil in there. I love that. What else should they be eating? Should they be taking extra virgin olive oil on their salads, macadamia nut oil? What's your feeling on those?
Well, you can put really good oils on your salads too. There's nothing in extra virgin olive oil that, extra virgin olive oil has 80% monounsaturated. Your body can make that out of sugar and starch. And it has 10% omega-6. So that's one of the lowest omega-6 oils. And it has less than 1% omega-3 in it. So most of what it contains is not essential by the definition.
Yes. So
can you use it? Yeah, once you've optimized your intake of omega-3 and omega-6 in the right ratio and not undamaged, then you can use extra virgin olive oil, and you can use other fat sources. but you got to put the essentials first if you want to be healthy.
I think that's an excellent point, to put
Yeah.
the essentials first. So that would mean getting an oil like Udo's oil. I have not seen anything else like it on the market. That would be
No.
1 tablespoon per 50 pounds. So for most
Yeah.
people, it's about 2.5 tablespoons, 3 tablespoons.
Yeah, 2 to 4 tablespoons. Right?
I
If you
love
weigh
it
100,
too.
it's 2. If you weigh 200 pounds, it's 4.
4.
And that's about 25% of
Can you
calories.
use that as a salad dressing?
Of course. Yeah,
So,
and the oil is compatible with everything. You can put it on fruit, you can put it on vegetables, you can put it on starch,
oh, good
you can put it on
point.
proteins. But if you put it on starch, people sometimes gain a little weight on it. They blame the oil, but it's the starch that is the problem. Because what happens is when you have starches, it'll inhibit burning the oil, because carbs can be dangerous. So the body's priority is to burn the carbs first. So what we say to people is, when you start using oils as a source of energy, because they're a super good source of energy, then at the same time lower your carb intake and replace the carbs with water-rich vegetables, all the green stuff. I mean, that's, to me, if you had nothing but oil and green foods, that would be a pretty good diet.
You'd be in a good place. Now, last but not least, I have to ask you this. Didn't you study with Dr. Johanna Bootwig?
I met her. I got her books because German was my first language. I read all her books in German. I did meet her. Her books were very interesting. They didn't do what I did. She was confused between omega-3s and 6s because she came from an earlier time where the distinction wasn't known. She used oils for frying, which I just could not and never understand. And at some point along the line, somebody else paid her for an endorsement fee, and then she endorsed somebody else's oil.
Oh dear.
Yeah, but she was a pioneer. Her biggest thing was that she focused on the damage done by trans fatty acids.
And so we're in her debt. And didn't she also create Cork, the anti-cancer food?
Cork, no, she didn't create Cork. Cork is just like it's like a dehydrated yogurt.
Ah.
Yeah, that's just a German word for cottage cheese.
She's given a lot of credit for that.
Well, what she was given credit for was the combination of flax oil
and the cottage cheese.
Cork as a treatment in cancer. And she did get some results, but there are better programs in comparison to Gerson. Her program was not very good. And I was familiar with both of them. Max Gerson was very, very detailed. He was anally detailed. He was unbelievably precise and detail oriented. And so he basically built a raw juice program with not a lot else in it.
Coffee enemas.
Yeah, coffee enemas, of course. You know, what do they say? There's nothing wrong with coffee. We just use it at the wrong end. And then the other joke was, oh, is that with cream and sugar? No, it's black. So, and then we introduced them to oils made with health in mind, and they got better results when they started using them.
So you have made an enormous contribution in our field, and I have to thank you for that. Oh. Everybody go out and get some Udo's oil. Is it in most health food stores in this country, do you think?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's
in the refrigerated section.
Yep.
And so what are you up to these days?
I have 3 missions in life. One was to make sense of fats and health. And that's pretty much done, although, getting it out to 8 billion people is long from done. But the second and third is to turn health into a teachable field and to turn human nature into teachable fields. That's because when you talk about health, one thing is information and one thing is physical, but how you think affects your health.
Yes,
what kind of people you're around affects your health. What your environment is like affects your health. How you feel inside, like if you're grateful or you feel good or you feel whole or you feel excited, ecstatic, that's good for health. And if you want to be totally healthy, you got to give 8 different things their due. I just named a bunch of them, right? Awareness, life energy, inspiration, physical body, survival smarts, social group, environment, and big picture. And when you're fully present in all of that, then you have the life that everybody's heart is aching for. But that takes some effort. and so I'm working on that, and that's why I say I'm just getting started.
At the age of 79. May you live till 120, my friend.
Yeah, that could accidentally happen.
That could actually happen. So I want to thank you for being my guest today, Udo Erasmus, the legendary Udo Erasmus, who in fact is a wonderful human being, as you all have listened. And
talking to the legendary Ann Louise Gittleman, who I think you started a little earlier than I did. I started in 1980.
When did I start? 1980? No. 19. I was a predicant in 1980. Wrote my book in 1988. So we've been in the industry a long time.
Long time, yeah. We could almost say we own the industry, but we don't really.
Not quite. It's changed quite a bit, and perhaps not in the right direction.
In some ways, not in the right direction.
So thank you again for being my guest, and I thank all of you for listening once again to First Lady of Nutrition. Remember to visit unikihealth.com and cs-health.com for the best activated sulforaphane product on the market. I'm Ann Louise Gittleman, thanking you, wishing you well, happiness, peace, and shalom. Hi, everybody. I'm Ann Louise here with just one more thing. Thank you so much for being a fan of my work. And if you like this video, please check out all my other videos. Please subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications.